All right, let's go ahead and get started with introductions, and then we'll let everyone join as they wish. And what I would like to do is just go around and start with our wonderful and amazing moderator today, Dr. Shruti. You want to go ahead and do your introduction and then introduce your panelists. That'll be great.
Thank you, Imbril. So, a very good morning from India and warm welcome to the masterclass Reimagining the Attention Economy, Sustainable Fashion, Beauty, and Wellness, which is being organized by Fusion Fashion Tech Society. I'm Dr. Shruti Shankar Gaur, and I'm founder of RIEDU, where we are committed to working for teens and youth by reimagining education through diverse storytelling and AI to empower the next generation of change makers. I've also been associated with the New York based global think tank, The Digital Economist, where I met beautiful Ambriel and, of course, Jean here. So it has been an honor to moderate this session with brilliant lineup of amazing colleagues. And I would like to extend a warm welcome to Jean Criss, Dr. Michael Speicher, and Liza Sekaggya. So Jean is a founder and CEO of Jean Criss Media and author of Hear Me Now, Empowering Women to Find Their Voice. She's a breast cancer survivor and women's empowerment advocate. She's passionate about sustainable fashion design, digital media, and digital health. Jean has been a dear colleague at the Digital Economist, where she's a senior fellow from New York. About Dr. Michael Speicher. He is a philosopher and consultant. So, guys, we have a philosopher in the room who helps organizations and leaders see beauty as essential for lasting impact. His work shows how aesthetics shapes products, space, and culture, and making abstract ideas actionable. He also offers philosophical counseling for leaders seeking clarity and purpose. Based out of Boston, he teaches at the Massachusetts College of Arts and Design and the Boston Architectural College. Through the Aesthetics Research Lab, he explores how beauty is not a luxury but necessary for true sustainability. Liza is co founder and president of Phenomenal Women Global. She's a lawyer and a passionate leader in the area of women's rights, climate change, the environment and waste management, and sustainable trade, focusing on Africa. She had been working on a passion project of hers, which includes pineapple farming for vegan leather and soap in Uganda. So, welcome everyone, including Jean, Michael, and Lisa here. Beginning, we are okay. We can start, right? Okay.
Let's
So I would
start.
like perfect. So I would like to just begin this master class with one question that I would direct to all three of you. When we talk of attention economy, I'm curious as to what role does the attention economy play in shaping not just what people buy, but what they believe about sustainability, be it fashion, beauty, or wellness. So, yeah, Lisa, well, let's start with you. Let's hear you.
You, you muted.
Hey, can I
Lisa?
go second?
Yeah, sure, of course. Okay, Jean, Michael, like, yeah.
Uh, sure, be happy to. Thanks so much for having me, Shruti. So good to see you and everybody. Yes, well, from a brand strategist perspective, I guess I'd like to say that I believe that authenticity starts with transparency. One of the most effective strategies is to invite your audience into the process. Don't just show the end product. Show the challenges, the trade offs, the behind the scene decisions that go into making sustainable choices and making it very meaningful. Consumers respect vulnerability, they really take that into action. As a content creator, which is what I do, I always look for stories and trying to make that personal. When a brand talks about sustainability, it's lived value. It's not a sales pitch. I like to suggest framing your content as a shared lifestyle and not just a marketing hook. So be genuine and authentic with your content creation. Um, people really like to see that brands are more engaging and that you're really building that into the sustainable products. And it's about humanizing your mission and showing real world impact. Audiences don't just want to know that what your brand is doing, they want to know why and who it helps. So the most credible brands use storytelling to build trust over time. And it's important to carry that message and try to convey that all the time and keep it in the forefront of your messaging. So that's what I'd suggest.
Yeah, love that. Especially when you said that, authenticity and making the story personal and vulnerable. That's what people are looking for. Michael, what's your take here?
I was thinking about this, and we talk about the attention economy, but I almost think a better name for it is the distraction economy. We're in recent articles in Harvard Business Review and Forbes, they both said we just talking in the context of work, we change tasks, which includes websites and apps, an average of 1,200 times per day. So the reason why this is important is I think it numbs us to these things, and sometimes we don't take the time to really think about what it is we're doing. And this is what led cognitive scientist John Vervaeke to declare that we're in a meaning crisis right now. And so the attention economy, it plays a crucial role in shaping how we think about sustainability, because often we're so distracted that we don't step back and really think, when we take the word attention, what are we really attending to? And so, so I would say more on the individual side of things that we need to take charge of what we attend to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that when you said we are more distracted than we could ever be, and what is required is focus, and we need to bring our focus. Absolutely lovely. Liza, your thoughts here?
Yes, I agree with the speakers, and maybe I could just add that in terms of visibility and narrative control, I believe that brands and influencers who dominate feeds shape what sustainability means to consumers. And some of them emphasize, for example, eco-conscious fashion lines or clean beauty. Others engage in greenwashing using sustainable language, mainly to capture attention and without thinking about the real impact. For example, when you think about saying things like plastic-free packaging, vegan leather, it's very complex. And attention economy also overshadows and doesn't go into issues such as labor rights, overconsumption, the life cycle impact, and all those issues, which I think are important. But for example, also TikTok users, for example, use this aspirational storytelling aspect. I saw one that was talking about a capsule wardrobe on Instagram or sustainable skincare routine. All this looks good in aesthetically, but I think depth is required into what goes behind that, the policies, and how people who are creating these substances are treated from an employment law aspect and from a policy aspect. I think as a lawyer, I just think of that in terms of, their rights as well. Over.
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. Absolutely. Because most of the time when we talk of sustainability, we tend to forget, because from supply chain, from the moment raw material to putting it out, the product in the market, it's important that every stage, not only taking care of sustainable measures, taking all the sustainable measures, but also taking care of human beings who are involved. Because I completely agree, because I come from India and I see so much that while brands, they portray such a nice, beautiful, wonderful image, but at the back end, it's artisans who are not every time, but yeah, there are times when they're not looked taken care of, when they don't benefit from any of this, and there are human rights issues and everything. So absolutely what you said, Liza, I coming from developing country, I completely resonate, and I think we should, each one of us should be aware of it, and should raise our voice whenever we can for people who are not as privileged as you and I are. Beautiful, lovely, and I feel that from each one of you, your thoughts have shaped such a hopeful vision of creativity and responsibility, authenticity, that we can work together to shape in the attention economy that is so very well needed. Awesome. So coming to you, Michael, based on your expertise in aesthetics and philosophy, of course, what do you think can be the role of aesthetics in shifting the consumer mindset to adopt sustainable practices? Because I see a lot of products out there in the market, a lot of options out there in the market. And one more issue that I always face is that's just any product which we say organic or something which is more sustainable is costlier. It's branded that way. So what is your take? How can we, like, the role of aesthetics in shifting the consumer mindset so that we adopt sustainable practices?
Um, I'll begin with a story and a research that I read about. The story comes from designer Marianne van Albel. She's a designer, and she gave a TED talk where she began with this idea of like walking through the mountains and came across this little hut in the middle of nowhere. And she said, "Look at the roof of the hut. Notice," and she had a picture of it. I don't have that picture, unfortunately, but she said, "Notice on the roof, there's a solar panel. Isn't that really fascinating that in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of these mountains, there's a self-sustaining hut?" And then she says that one of my, like, this is near and dear to my heart. She says, "But why is the solar panel so ugly?" And so she's on a mission to create panels and to collect solar power that are beautiful. And because it's one of the big hindrances. We see this with wind farms, solar farms. People think they're ugly. Now coal and other things we could also argue are also ugly, but we're already in the habit of using them. So it's hard to change our habits. We need to attract people. I'll get to that in a second. So the second thing I want to say is a research that came out from San Francisco State University by Professor Kumar. They basically used the context of automobiles, and they studied about 700 participants, and I think most of the people said that they care about sustainability. But what the research proved is that sustainable ideals and other altruistic values do not change people's habits, their consumer habits.
Right.
So they concluded that aesthetics is what attracts people to change their habits. And I think the reason for this is because it forges an emotional connection with your company, with your product. And I think it also takes your company from being merely transactional to being relational. It's not relational in a robust sense, but there is a sense in which it connects with people's emotions. So, but also we need to change our habits. I gave an example on a panel discussion in New York, actually, last year on beauty and sustainability. And I actually thought of it this morning, so I looked up the statistics again. Anyone have any idea how many Q-tips we throw away each day? 1.5 billion a
Oh
day.
dear.
Now, this is one small little product. So when you multiply that with all kinds of other products, and I think as far as I understand it, like most doctors think you shouldn't even use them in the first place. But if you think about these habits that we have, and this goes back to what I originally said about attending to our habits, is what sometimes we just do things in our habits without really thinking about them. And so, as a philosopher, one of the virtues of philosophy, not to say every philosopher does it perfectly, but one of the virtues of philosophy is questioning your assumptions. And so, taking time every so often and saying, like, why do I do the things I do? Why do I do this? And just thinking about those things more carefully. Yeah, so I think that.
Lovely, lovely. So, I completely resonate this. I never thought about this until you just mentioned. I have a teenage daughter, and she will buy like these cotton tote bags because they are beautiful. She finds them beautiful. And if I give her a normal regular tote, she won't even look at it because it's not beautiful. It's not trendy enough. So I completely agree that yes, this is one way to attract the consumer. And regarding your when you mentioned that's that solar panel thing. So the current house that we live in, my mother-in-law was so adamant that she wanted a solar panel installed, and she wanted a garden in the backyard before we move in. So
Yeah.
I think these little choices that we make that change our perspective slowly and slowly. It's not a one day thing, but yeah, if we I feel if we actually put in effort and make those small changes and choices, that does go a long way.
Yeah.
So
It
one thing
takes a
I
conscious effort.
yeah, conscious and constant effort. I agree completely. So I see few questions coming in. It's. I think I would like to take one of them if that's okay, Michael. They are just two, and these are lovely, beautiful questions. And I know that you are writer of Beauty Matter and co-editor, contributing writer for Beauty Matter and co-editor of the first academic book on digital fashion, which is
I have
published by.
right here.
Oh, wow. I'll have to read that. So if I can, I like this question based on trust, that if I can take this, if you would like to answer it, that how do you see aesthetics driving trust in digital first ecosystems, especially in areas like fashion, beauty, and sustainability?
This is actually a great question.
Yeah,
It's
I love that
I
too.
feel like we might have in tune because I have a perfect example of this. Most people think of the company Airbnb like it was a great idea. It's a huge success. It probably just from launch to now it was probably just everything worked seamlessly. Well, when they first started in 2009, they almost went bankrupt. The three founders were making $200 a week to split between living in San
Oh, yeah.
Francisco. So you can imagine what that was like. Uh, they um, uh, they looked at their website because everyone kept saying this is a great idea and so on, and they looked at their website and what did they find? The photos that people used to show their space were amateur and grainy and dark, not the kind of place you want to stay in and trust. So all they did to change everything and finally start increasing their profits was they flew to New York, they reshot all of the photos with the professional equipment, better lighting, and so on. And so they only made an aesthetic change, and that established trust. People trust things that have better aesthetics. It's just a fact at this point. We know this now. Now there is a way there is a cautionary tale here too, that people can use good aesthetics to manipulate people for bad ends. So I'm not saying that there isn't some reason to be cautious, but when you have a good product, when you have a good mission, it's not enough. It requires
Yeah.
aesthetics to get you to the next level, which is what the research in San Francisco State University showed, that people wouldn't change their habits without good aesthetics. It's what the Airbnb example shows. And so I think aesthetics is absolutely crucial for trust.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope everyone's listening here are taking notes. Only thing that is coming to my mind, I never knew about the Airbnb story. Thank you for sharing that. I think with trust, if I may add, definitely aesthetics have a role to play, but I think authenticity and personal story, which I think Jean mentioned earlier, that also, because at the end of the day, we always want to know who is behind this particular brand or something, or we want to know that person, story. And I think being authentic, any brand which positions itself as being authentic, that also creates some trust. If yeah, I feel that way as well. Awesome.
Yeah,
That
and it's actually more of a problem if you have good aesthetics but don't have integrity, because then that's even a worse, like as far as people's perceptions, that's even worse in their mind. So there is a balancing between all these other things, and the main reason I emphasize aesthetics is just because most people don't.
Yeah, I know, I agree completely. Daniel is asking, where can he find your book? Maybe you can put it in the chat. So you have one reader. Let me also know. I will just copy from here later so that I'll love to read it. Awesome. Jean, to you, if there is one key piece of advice that you would like to give to the young sustainability focused marketers on crafting messaging that inspires mindful consumption and actively discourages overconsumption. So,
Yes.
one advice.
Okay. Well, recently I've been involved in a lot of fashion design and product development. When I think about what Michael's talking about with aesthetics, it makes me think about the product design and the product quality, right? So as you're getting involved in fashion design, a lot of what I've been involved in recently has been wearable tech and also gaming. And there's different audiences, different target markets, different um, messaging that you need to focus on to deliver those types of products. So when you're thinking about that target consumer, and from a design perspective, you need to look at all aspects of the audience. You need to look from the materials, the organic product, all of the different sourcing that you're using, everything that comes into play when you're developing and crafting new sustainable products. And so, from a consumer perspective, when you're looking at the young consumer or the different generations, what I'm involved in, I'm trying to bridge and blend a lot of those gaps and trying to, with gaming as an example, trying to deliver product to kind of, I guess I could say, mirror multiple generations. I know that through my research I've done that the average gamer, believe it or not, I was really surprised about this, is a woman who's over the age of 30. Who takes hours to dress her avatar. And, when you think about what that involves with, you know, the type of intricacy that's involved with design and the level of detail that you need to focus on, and the level of attention, how motion is taken into play with the design in gaming, all aspects of the aesthetics, the color, the style, etc. There's a lot that comes into play there for that type of consumer. And whether that is the Gen X, the millennial, or the boomers, or whatever audience that you're delivering that to, and what platform. So, from a gaming perspective, I've had to look at all of that and think about that as I design. Then from wearable tech, I'm dealing with smart, a new category. I mean, smart technology's been out for a while, right? But it really isn't for intimate apparel. And so I'm kind of, entering into new territory and really creating something that's revolutionary. And so, taking a look at kind of blending med tech with post surgical intimate apparel, it really is, taking a look at how do you integrate AI and blockchain and your traditional phygital and digital worlds with digital health into making something that's comfortable and fit with style and can also provide patient centric care and be able to provide maybe um, accelerate your post recovery and accelerate that process, and also maybe do pre diagnosis for cancer. And those are some of the types of designs that I'm actually involved in. And maybe if we have time at the end of this, I can show you a little preview of that, because I just was delivered a preview of my first video this morning before we got started. So I'd love to share that if we have time. So, when you take a look at all of this, it's really blending all of those different audiences, the different platforms. It's really taking a look at what are you trying to deliver from a design perspective or a product or promotion, and really knowing your audience, and then being able to take a step back and say, what are the steps that I need to do with my product innovation, and then getting to it. And so that's what I've been doing.
Wow. So many, relevant insights and wonderful insights there. And super congratulations. More power to you. Uh, yeah. And like, I would love to, let's see, fingers crossed. If we have time, we'll definitely want to,
Okay.
that video. Awesome. So, I would also love to know that I'm sure the audience is looking forward as well. If you can share, how can brands leverage this dynamic to promote sustainability? What you just mentioned, yeah.
Yes, well, I think that they need to leverage it by having a common, as I mentioned before, keeping that message in the forefront, keep carrying it throughout your branding. I think that that's strategically really important, whether it be in your content development, in your product theme, in your branding, in your logo, in your marketing, all of your marketing collateral, in your video production, your digital assets. If it's a one-time deal, they're going to forget about it. If you're just on social media, it comes and goes. But if you keep that message in the forefront and you're not just doing it at a product launch, as an example, you're really keeping it consistent. And, you're not just mentioning something on Earth Day, as an example, you're really keeping it, out there so that people really hear and see and know what it is that you're trying to convey. That's really going to have more of a genuine and authentic impression upon your audience. So that's what the consumers really need to see and hear in order to believe in the brand.
Yeah, that's such a nuanced point that you have added, and which reminded me that, Fusion Fashion Tech Society, it's like 1 year, 1 year baby, and I have been following there like since day one somehow. I have been following what Ambriel has been doing, great work, and they have always, what you just mentioned, keeping that, in the forefront, sustainable mindset, putting it in branding, putting it across every digital portal that, and I see that Fusion Fashion Tech Society doing that at every stage, at every platform, at everywhere actually, in everything that they do. So yeah, so it's I think a live example of that way, what you just mentioned.
Absolutely. And that's a great example. And I applaud Ambrielle because she's done a fabulous job with that. Her logo, her branding throughout all of her assets is right front and center in everything that she does. So yes, absolutely. And thanks for bringing that to the masterclass. That's definitely
Yeah,
that is,
yeah, it
we're an
is.
example of what we're I guess we're preaching what we're talking about here.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I love what this it has, the way it has taken shape in last 1 year. Wonderful and beautiful, and yeah, awesome. Okay, thank you, Jean.
Mhm.
Lisa, I feel among all of us, here, you are the one who has been working on the ground to redefine sustainable fashion. So, to the audience here, would you like to tell us, about your project, which is you are so passionate about, yeah, which you are currently working on using pineapple, fruit waste for vegan leather and soap to promote sustainable fashion and products, and leveraging a local pineapple farming community in working in Uganda.
Yes, thank you. I'll just maybe share a personal story. During COVID, Uganda produces a very large number of pineapples that I exported to the neighboring countries, to Kenya, to Rwanda, to Sudan, to refugee communities. And my family is one of the people that grows pineapples on our farm. And so when COVID came in, the borders were closed. And so we could
Oh,
not export our pineapples, and nobody could actually export any fruits, any food. And we produce so much fruit in Uganda, so much food. Our soil is so fertile, and everything started rotting because, even if you give it away, everybody sort of there is enough food around. So it started rotting, and I thought to myself, what can we do with this waste? Like, how can we use this organic pineapple waste to do something? And of course, with my experience and travels, having lived in Switzerland for long and being part of various innovation projects, I realized that there was a lady also doing pineapple, leather from pineapple leaves. And so I thought, it's a good idea. As well as I found someone who was doing soap from fruit waste. And so I joined the pineapple community of about 10 farmers in the neighborhood, joined them, and we have a local factory that dries pineapples and sends them to Europe, to Austria mainly. We're all organic farmers, so we only use organic fertilizer, which is from coffee husks. We don't use anything that could be poisonous or that harm us. And so with these pineapples, if you know much about pineapple growing, the leaf that the pineapple sits on can only, the pineapple can only grow twice on it. So it only has two harvests, sometimes even one. So these leaves are normally burnt by the farmers. Most farmers burn them or just chuck them away. So this, of course, is not environmentally friendly. And so decided to start collecting these leaves and trying to process them into vegan leather. Of course, we don't have all the resources because it is quite expensive to get the machinery. There is a small one, but we are still fundraising for resources to have enough machines to shred those leaves and process them into vegan leather. Secondly, the fruit waste that comes from the factory that dries the pineapples to be exported to Europe is also just thrown away. So we have started using this waste. This one was less resource intensive to make soap. And this soap is very good because it's good for people with skin problems like eczema, rash, sensitive skin. And this pineapple soap can be used also as a detergent. So if you have like sensitive skin and you're washing plates, it's really, really good. And so this is one way of collective impact in a community of pineapple growers to do something with the waste. So I'm in charge of the waste management. My company, Pinaleaf, is in charge of the waste management. So we do, from all these farmers, collect this waste and make sure that it is used responsibly. And we have meetings to account for what we've done organically, the farmers who are farming, to make sure that they're not using pesticides that are harmful or fertilizers that are harmful. And then secondly, we have an obligation to account monthly on what we've used the waste for and how we are progressing in our fundraising to get the various machines that we need to produce that waste. So the broader message is really a conversation for elevating communities to a higher purpose for sustainable development, green economy, and also just a circular economy where we're using everything that we have. We're in one little small area, but the whole country is, 4 or 5 states in the country are full of pineapple. So we'd like to, of course, replicate this if we had more resources to help other people use it, because this material that's going to come out can be used for shoes and other things. And the community can actually sustain itself, pay for their children's school fees, healthcare, and other things that in Africa don't come so easy as they do in the West. So I believe this is a very good project and invite you to know more and to talk to me on the side if you want to help. Thank you.
Yeah, I loved it totally. It was like, wow, I was thinking that we already have solutions, from nature, from organic. Only thing required, I think, is to make it scalable. And we do have all these be it vegan leather and vegan soaps and everything, which can, and these are not, because any sort of chemical, it is, at the end of the day, it's harmful. We may agree to it or not. So beautiful, more power to you. I would love to know more. You're doing a wonderful, wonderful work out there. And listening to the pineapple story, I was reminded that in in Sapiens, there's a pineapple story. If any one of you have read that, so by Yuval Noah Harari, he mentions that, first time in European, they saw pineapple because pineapple is not a European fruit now, yeah, just like you mentioned. They went nuts. And at that point of time, it was while they started exporting to Europe by these pineapples were not, they would they would rot. And very less amount of pineapple would actually reach the shore, European shore, in a eatable, edible form. Like, so pineapple became the next gold in Europe during that time. And your status in the society was determined by who can serve pineapple during their dinner parties and everything, to the extent that I'm not remembering the king who got himself painted with a pineapple while he's eating a pineapple. He asked someone like to paint him in that that painting of hers. And even if you visit Vatican, there is in one of the buildings, the top of that building, there is a pineapple, because pineapple was such a big thing at that time. So, history is full of these amazing stories, and what you are doing is in pineapple is a wonderful fruit. So more power to you. One more thing that I would love to know from you is that, because we know that you're a human rights lawyer, right? You work for even for women rights activists. So what role do women play in communities that you work with? And be it farming community and otherwise as well. And how can smaller emerging brands leverage the contribution of women in advancing economy, especially focusing on the attention economy, while staying true to their sustainability goals?
Well, as the women that we work with, first of all, the pineapple farming industry is underrepresented of women. There are 2 women in our ecosystem of 10. Why? Because it is expensive to have that organic, to buy organic fertilizer. It is expensive to farm, and men can afford to get the loan, or they actually have more resources, especially in the African context. And so we try to promote more women. Another reason why they also don't want to do it is because it's also bad for the nails. I know this sounds very banal, but plucking it out and pulling this, it's bad for the nails. One of the ladies told me, yeah, some women don't want to go into it because of their nails, and there's, just the intensity. So we are trying. So what I did is I got a consignment of gloves as well to encourage more women to come, because of course women care also about their beauty. So we do distribute gloves, and we also try to encourage, through sensitization of other women who have actually made money from their pineapples and from the waste, because we buy the waste from them. We encourage other women through those kind of incentives. So we've had a few more women joining, but we should not forget the powerful influence of women, especially African women, on the community and on the health of the community. Because if we look at soap, for instance, in our area, they have influenced people to use that soap and buy it, especially children who have skin problems, and they do advocacy in their little groups as well. So they shift community consumption patterns as well. That is one thing that I saw. And then what can people do? What can these emerging economies do? I think it's important to tell this story. I mean, I'm telling this story, but it's an amazing story when you do buy a piece of soap and you say, this is what the women have gone through, to brand their stories, which we haven't done because we're still trying to to figure it out. But branding and highlighting how this women's leadership even leads to improving the economy, because of their farming and because of the extras they're making in terms of that waste, and mobilizing other people even to just collect the leaves and bring them to the center where they can be used. So that one is a powerful message. And then also, I think in terms of the vegan leather industry, smaller and emerging brands can showcase women's leadership in these ethical labor practices. So we try to ensure that they are getting enough money even just for the sale of the pineapple to the factory, because most of them sell to the factory, and then also getting the right amount of money from the waste that they give to the waste production plant. And ensuring that also when they are working in these conditions, they are safe. Like we talked about the gloves, we talked about the hours, sensitizing them, and and that they know their rights. They know what is the cost of a pineapple on the market, and the companies that make juice and everything, because most people are selling to the juice companies, that they don't exploit them because they make a lot of money from the juice and from exporting the dried pineapples to Europe. So we try to have these conversations just to make sure there's a lot of ethics around, there's a lot of fairness, and also that the environment is preserved as
Yeah.
well. So we have a few talks around that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that. Be it women in any part of the world, the beauty and aesthetics is one, and that's so feminine. Like, wow, that was so wonderful to hear that. Awesome. So, I would like to listen to all three of you in the next question. That looking ahead, how do you envision the attention economy evolving over the next decade? Let's say, because in a fast moving world that we are in, like it's going to change beyond what we can perceive right today. But let's become a futurist for a moment. And what role do you think policy, innovation, and technology play in shaping the future of sustainability across these industries? Jean, would you like to start?
Sure. Well, when I think about the future attention of the economy, I see consumers shifting from the short-term attention really to long-term trust. Sustainability really being the core driver of engagement in fashion, beauty, and wellness. And it's really becoming more central to how product is created. And this is really across media, tech, education, and it really becoming more human centric, right? As far as the deliverables. The attention is for the economy is more powerful because we need to steer that growth towards the outcome so that it's responsible, it's inclusive, and sustainable. I think that from a resource perspective, it is complex, and depending on the industry, it does, take on different variables. Technology and storytelling, as I mentioned, can empower the users, and you need to take a shift from, how that message is going to be conveyed and taking a look at how to deliver that through your brand and conveying that through the long term to build that long term trust. And then, really, the future really prioritizing that throughout the full messaging, because if you have a quiet message, it's not going to get out there. So really having that brand authenticity really is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you just mentioned, putting a human-centered approach to everything that we do. And
Mhm.
coming from the digital economist, you and I know that that's the area we always focus on all the time.
Yeah,
And
it
that's the
touches.
need of the hour, actually. Yeah,
Yes, absolutely, because it goes
yeah,
across all areas. It really does.
yeah, it does. Absolutely. Okay, Michael, any thoughts that you would like to add?
Since we brought up storytelling, I would just add one small thing to that part of it is, uh, I think if a story is just there to kind of as an instrument to convey ideas, I don't think it has much effect. But when a story actually is good in good in itself, in other words, it creates a kind of aesthetic experience, even a mild one. Um, Stories that have aesthetics are memorable and repeatable. And that's, I think, the key. And I think part of that again is not about manipulation. I think there's a line, like anything that can be used for good can be used for bad. I think we know that, but uh, there's an idea that people, I think, want more substance, but they often don't know where to find it. So people talk about, like, well, they want to not use a certain company or brand, but they don't know where else to go. So I think getting a memorable and repeatable message out there is part of the way forward, because this is we talk about the attention economy, but this is also uh, there's also a lot of people that want more of an experience, and they're willing to pay more to have an experience with a company. I mean, just like company like Warby Parker, that you could actually get glasses at your home for the first time instead of having to go to a shop and maybe feel awkward and rushed. And so you pick something that is okay, but maybe not what you really want. And now you can do digital try-ons. And that brings me into the digital fashion world. Digital fashion is another means forward for sustainability. People in the early days of Instagram, they would buy a really expensive garment, have it shipped to their house, take a picture, then ship it back and get a refund. Well, what they didn't probably realize, many people at the time, is that those returned items of clothing are usually not resold, even though you didn't damage them, you didn't even take the tags off, you hid them in the photo. They're trashed usually. Um, so digital fashion is a way forward with that. You can, if you only want an image of yourself digitally, buy a digital garment. If that's all you're going to use it for, because even if you don't throw something away immediately, even if it's in your closet, it's just future landfill.
Yeah,
And so
I
I
agree.
do think digital fashion and other kinds of digital assets like that are a path forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more what you're saying. And I really liked what you said that, it is much about the mindset, uh, then, attitude towards our digital fashion. Then it is about the material. And it's all about experience. So herein I see this experience. Food has become an experience. It's not food just anymore. At least that's the shift that I've observed post COVID in India. That food has now become sort of an experience. We are foodies here in India, no doubt about that. We have always been, but it has converted to that experience, and people are always looking for that experience. It's not just going out and dining, it's about that experience. So I completely agree. This is, and especially the youngsters, they are a generation who are looking for experience, and that can be the significant denominator for anything when we talk about fashion in an attention economy. Lovely. Lisa, your thoughts?
Maybe just one thing, because I agree with everybody. Maybe I believe the focus will move beyond, eco-friendly goods towards systemic change, like having regenerative agriculture, for instance, zero waste cities. I think this is something that I think is going to happen in the future. We'll have more of those kind of spaces and promotion of that kind of space. And yeah, the circular economy is something that I believe will thrive more, and there'll be more attention on that.
Yeah, and attention must serve the intention, it should be followed by that. So,
Yeah.
so as to ensure that be it fashion, beauty, or wellness, they are truly sustainable today and as well as in the future. Yeah, absolutely. So let me take one question from the audience. I really like this question that Daniel asked, and any one of you or all three of you, whoever feel comfortable, can respond to that. So it's just one second. Yeah, so Daniel says this that um, I'm currently work this one. How can brands move beyond surface level aesthetics, create deeper multi-sensory experiences that connect with identity and emotion? Oh, we just touched upon that because we were talking of experience. And then now it's more nuanced, like both connecting it to both identity and emotion. Anyone? I have few thoughts here. I don't know if that, so I can just jump in. I feel that in a capitalistic economy, we have a product and then we have its perceived value. So the same bag, I keep telling my teenage daughters that, the same bag, just put a logo, just put something, just tell, and that logo is a brand. It has an image, it has a perceived value, because of which that bag develops a perceived value. And I feel uh, people today are looking for that connecting with something like which has a multi-sensory experience, or which has an identity, which uh, carrying that bag gives you a emotional high, if I may put it, because of the perceived value that we have in this capitalistic economy. And aesthetics has a big role to play there, definitely. And of course, I am not big fan of experience because of any outward world. So just like Michael, I'm on my own way, an immature philosopher, and I keep telling my daughters that, clothes should not define you. You define clothes. So it's you who carry your persona, your attitude in whatever brand you wear or you don't wear. Uh, so yeah, but I would love to know thoughts here, like whoever wants to jump in.
Yeah, Shruti, I would just add that, it's really the evidence of that identity and the emotion that both really come together. When you're creating that identity, you really need to put yourself in the other person's shoes and ask, look at the customer experience and, ask the questions like, you know, have you ever, how many times have you, can you remember the last time when try to uncover those questions when you're trying to build that identity or that brand. And from the emotional perspective, asking the questions like, do you feel, are you frustrated with, are you scared about something? Does XYZ keep you up at night? If you're really uncovering those emotional aspects, you're really getting to the point of getting to the bottom of what is that customer experience going to be, and then you can kind of hone in on what that identity should be when you build that brand, because it's really a blend of that. And everyone goes through a different comfort zone and a fear zone and a learning zone, and as you build upon that, you're really building the brand, but taking into it the customer's experience. And if you put yourself in their shoes, um, you can resonate with them and then develop that solution.
Yeah, awesome. I see that Michael has already responded to that as well. This okay, but I have one question which is about AI traceability and blockchain-based transparency. With I find this is a great question that we can have. So yeah, let this be the last question, and any one of you can take this, whoever feels comfortable. So it's by Daniel, and he says that with consumers becoming more aware of sustainability and ethical sourcing, do you believe AI-driven traceability and blockchain-based transparency will become standards in the beauty and wellness industry? Yeah.
I think so. But it's also, it's also, as I understand it, and I don't understand how the technology specifically works, but the nice thing about it is with like fashion, take fashion for example. If you buy a garment that bears the name Michael Kors, probably at this point he didn't make those jeans, but the point is that you can the blockchain builds in, as I understand it, who did what, and so every time something is sold, it's automatic. So you don't have to, you no longer have to think, well, how do we divvy up the money? If digital assets are being sold, where it's built into the code that every time this person gets 15%, this person gets 30%, this person gets 20%, and so on. So I think that could be a huge advantage for people that are doing some of the work, but their name is not on the product.
Yeah. And if that could be like actually executed, that would be wonderful.
And not
I
to say like that's more about payment, but so the question is about sustainability. But I do think like th those things can be built in, I assume. just as easily as the more contract side.
Yeah, my only thought here is, yeah, sorry, Jean, please continue. Yeah.
No, I was just going to add that, absolutely, he's right with that. And, I think it all depends on, as he mentioned, whether it's a fashion product or not. But, data privacy comes into play, and, the the relevance of what it is. So what type of product, and is it needed? So not every fashion product needs to measure that type of information. So, is there a historical factor there? And do you need the digital passports, and do you need to have that blockchain, and AI involved in the identity? So, I think you need to take a look at, what the question was, I believe, is it going to be in all of fashion going forward? I don't think so. But is it relevant to specific categories or products? Absolutely. And it all is contingent on what it is, and is it necessary? So I'm building it into my smart product because it's relevant. But is it necessary for the gaming? No. So, I think, take a look and take a step back, and, and take a look at the regulations, and, what's necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in real. Thank you, Jean.
Mhm.
You're still
Okay.
muted.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for hosting such an amazing panel, Dr. Shruti, and thank you for all of our panelists for your excellent insights. We have a couple of minutes left, and I just wanted to say, yes, Daniel, excellent question. This is about trust by design, right? How do we build trust into the design from the onset? How do we do that from farm to textile and back to textile again? That's what we're thinking of today. We're thinking about circularity. We're thinking about how we can continue to have trusted narratives shared and drive attention forward while also accelerating circularity and sustainability initiatives. And our guest today did an excellent job of illustrating those points. So why do we host these global events? And why do we host anything at Fusion Fashion Tech Society? It is essential, in my belief, that we bring together stakeholders across sectors to really collectively advance sustainability and circularity initiatives. And this is not because I think that the fashion and textile industry is going to be able to solve these issues alone, right? It's not just a global South issue. It's not a race colonialism issue by itself. It's not a geopolitical issue. It's not a China-specific Shein issue. It is at its core. Sustainability is a cultural issue. That's why we must look at it through a holistic lens. It's a matter of social sustainability. The Fusion Fashion Tech Society is a social sustainability community. And so these solutions to these major humanitarian challenges can only be explored and developed through our collective conversations, through forums like this. So let's look at what we learned very quickly today, because I know I'm going a moment over time. We learned today some valuable insights on how aesthetics influence and shift our attention, right, in the attention economy. The role of design thinking and content development, thank you, Jean, in transforming broken systems within the fashion and tech ecosystems. And then also, thank you, Liza, the significance of governance in shaping narratives that drive consumer behaviors. And also, Liza, the role of biomimicry and the development of penatexts and how we drive gender inclusion in agricultural sector. So then we also talked about, and thank you, Michael, for bringing this back up, the role of tech innovations and how blockchain and AI can help to accelerate sustainability and circularity, and also develop digital identity infrastructure. So those are some of the things we learned. And that's why these organizations like Fusion Fashion Tech Society and some of the other ones that are aligned with us, some of our partners, are so important, like the Digital Economist, like Sustainability Women in the World. All of these organizations are working to advance human-centered transformation and to look at sustainability from a holistic stance. So I want to thank you all for staying with us to the end, for joining us today. Also, if you're in New York during Climate Week, New York City, please tune in, join us for the Fusion Fashion Tech Summit. We would love to see you there. And also, directly following the summit, we have the No Permission Dinner. Some of the speakers today are also speaking during the summit, so we'd love to see you again. Thank you. And Dr. Shruti, I'll let you close out your panel.
Thank you so much, Ambriel. Yeah, awesome. I also loved the whole conversation, and thank you for joining it. What wonderful insights and takeaways we had. And have a good day. And as Ambriel said, please do join us at New York Climate Week in case you are at New York on September 22 for the Fusion Fashion Summit, followed by No Permission Dinner. See you all. Thank you. Good day.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.